Guys, let's talk about what led to this. So, I had to have cervical spine surgery on April 28th. So this is what they said. Excuse my children, they're so loud. Like 28, 29, 30, 1, oh, it was day 10. Oh my gosh, it was day 10. It's been a little bit of a journey, to say the least. So I'm going to try to keep this short as much as possible. I may have to chop this up into 2 or 3 different parts, because I want to talk about what symptoms, what led up to this diagnosis, and then this surgery, and then the surgery and recovery. So just starting off, I had symptoms for years, from I think when I was 13 years old. I was having tingling, numbness in my hands and my face. I was having muscle twitching all over my body. So if your eye twitches, it was kind of like that, but it would happen all over. I went to doctors. They had ran tests and they always chalked it up to anxiety. But even in my teens, I knew it's something more than that, because I'm I feel fine. There's no reason for these symptoms in my head, right? And so years have gone past now, and I get into my 20s, have children, all of that, having these symptoms, but bearing with it, because again, they say, oh, it's just anxiety, whatever. So one day, I think it was, I want to say it was 2016. I remember waking up and my left arm, I couldn't move it. It was pain shooting from here all the way down to my fingertips, and it was the most excruciating pain. I remember almost screaming in pain. It was so bad, and it just came out of nowhere. And it was weird because it was also numb, feeling my arms felt really heavy, and I'm thinking in my head oh my gosh, I'm having freaking heart attack. But I ended up going to the doctor, and came out that I had a herniated disc. So for those that may not know, herniated disc is when the vertebrae, you have your spinal column, you have your spinal cord that goes down, and you have the vertebrae right here. So I had a vertebrae that was popped out, it herniated. So it popped out and it was pressing against my spinal cord. And that was causing pinched nerve. And so that was causing the symptoms down my arm. So went to the chiropractor. They did some adjusting and some manipulations and decompression therapy, where they put you on a table and they put this contraption around your neck, kind of like this, and the machine just kind of slightly pulls your neck out a little bit, back in, out a little bit, back in, and that's to help give room for that vertebrae to pop back in place. So I did that. I did physical therapy. But during physical therapy, it just seemed like my symptoms was just getting worse. So, but I stuck through it. Finished physical therapy. I just told them, I'm like, yeah, I'm good. And so I just kind of lived with it, right? And I did get to the point where I was thinking, like, this is really getting bad. Like, any strenuous activity, I felt like it was just flaring, right? So, anywho, again, some more years went past, and 2021, so last year around May, I remember putting together, like, getting some, I was trying to make furniture, y'all. Like, I was trying to make, like, was it wood pallet furniture, like, for the backyard. My aunt, she told me about it. and, and I was like, yeah, like, I want to do that. Like, it's dope. It's cheap. I can make some little patio furniture. I was really trying to get my backyard together for a nice seating for me and the family and for people who, you know what I'm saying, just want to come chill or whatever. And so, anyhow, I did that. But right after I was handling that, my shoulder, like the back of my shoulder over here, it was hurting. It was like pulsating from one spot in the back where my like where my traps is, and it was a huge knot there. So I had my husband kind of like rub it out, and it hurt so bad. And so I'm like, okay, I'm done. Showered, laid down. But when I had got up, I was in pain. It felt like my muscle was falling off of my bones. And it felt like I had to hold my muscle up. Like I thought I had torn my rotator cuff or something. Like it was horrible. And so it took a minute for me to get into the doctor. Because I was like, well, maybe I put a muscle handling, you know, the those heavy pallets. And so anywho, went to the doctor, did an ultrasound and everything, and they said that, oh, I don't see like nothing pulled here. I do see you have a little bursitis, which is just like a little fluid around here. But yeah, you know, look good. So they but at that point it started to feel better. It was almost like a week, like, because I couldn't get into the doctor. And so like the symptoms started to subside, and had me go to PT to kind of like help, you know. And during PT, I started, when I do certain exercises, I started to get, what do you call it? Muscle twitching back in my feet. But it was like more. And my arms, both of them, started to feel like, I knew it was nerve, like pain. Because it felt like I had, you know, when you hit your funny bone and it's be like, zzz, and it'd be like a heavy villain. And you kind of like hold your arm like, that's how both of my arms felt. So I'm like, that's weird. Like, I've done nothing, you know, like this doesn't hurt anymore, but now this. And so to make this video short, just jumping ahead. So finished through PT. I let my physical therapist know about those symptoms. I let her know my history, where herniated disc, blah, blah. So she put that in my notes, the chart notes about that. And she did do some manipulations with the neck to see if it could help me at all. That was really nice of her, because I didn't come in for that. I came in for whatever is going on with my shoulder. And so, long story short, finish up with that PT. I go back to my PCP to let her know about the other symptoms, because now I'm having tingling all over my face, my whole body. Muscle twitching was non-stop. It was so bad. Like, I have videos. I don't know if I can like input them here, but it would be like my toes would just be moving like this. And it was times where my lips would just be like, really like this. That's so weird. But they would just be like moving, jumping like this all over. When I would chew, it would be like this band of, what'd you call it? Tingling that would come from my jaw all the way up to my head. My legs at one point, I remember walking through the parking lot when I got off work, and it felt like my legs were gonna give out. Like, I literally, like, once I had got to my, like, I was praying, like, God, just please let me get to my car. Got to my car, and I just kind of plumped down because I had, my legs were at that point was just numb. And I had to sit there and wait because I couldn't drive. I couldn't pick up my legs, like my foot, to even put them on the gas, on the brake. And so I sat and I waited for a few minutes, and then I was able to kind of like pick up my legs so that, because I could like feel my feet. It was just like my legs felt heavy. And I got home, thank God. And so at that point, it was so bad. And I can make a video, another, like how it affected me mentally, because that was one of the most darkest times. Like, it really took a toll on me. But I'll do another video of why it did. I went again to my PCP, let her know, and she was like, well, I want to send you to a neurosurgeon, and, well, not a neurosurgeon, orthopedic surgeon. We'll send you here to there, like a few doctors. Got MRI, or was it X-ray? She had orders and tests. So to keep this short again, all of those tests came back like, okay, now with this, she said that, yeah, I see that you do have severe disc herniation. You have, what do you call it? This degenerative disease. But she said, oh, but that's not, you know, that shouldn't, it's not that bad where it should be causing all these issues. So I'm like, well, what is wrong with me? Like, my body felt like literally it was just breaking down. That's what it felt like. Like, I was malfunctioning. Everything was going haywire. Showering, like any touch, like if you touch me, it will just start tingling. Like in the shower, the water, too hot, too cold. Like, I was just tingling. I lost function in my hands where I couldn't barely do my hair. I couldn't do my daughter's hair. I lost all gripping, everything. I could almost not even shower. Like it had got really bad. So, she sends me to this neurologist, and I'm not gonna get too deep into that. I'm gonna just say that was the worst experience in a doctor's office ever. And the other doctors, the orthopedic surgeon she sent me to, he looked at me, had me walk one way back. He was like, no, you good. There's nothing I can do for you. Literally, and I'm not exaggerating. That was the appointment. That was it. And I'm like, you don't want to know, like, what's going on. I'm like, well, look. Like, I'm showing him my feet. Like, look, my feet just moving by themselves. Like, I was so desperate. He was like, no, has nothing to do with your with your spine, and so there's nothing I can do for you. Literally, I would say that was probably like a 60-second appointment. The neurologist, I had seen like a few times. They did do like testing and things like that. And again, they even told me, yeah, your neck, that shouldn't be causing these issues. You have something that's called benign fasciculation syndrome, also known as BFS, which is Really a term or diagnosis they use for unknown muscle twitching, um, tingling sensations, and numbness. But in that diagnosis, there's no known reason. Nobody know what caused, and there's no cure, no treatment for it. So I'm like, so I'm just stuck like this the rest of my life? And he said, yeah, unfortunately. He said, I have the same condition. And he gave me tips of what I could do to kind of help. And so he said, definitely work out. He said, working out will help. And so I'm like, okay. And so, but in the back of my head, I just knew, like, that's not right. You know, like, no. It's got to be something more. So I did. When I had a break where I felt okay, I would come and I would like do some HIIT workouts, and I would, even when it was painful and I would start to go numb, I would just try my best to push through it, because I'm like, he told me like this is gonna help, until I couldn't do it anymore. I think I did like 2 days and it was so bad. I couldn't even move. There would be days when I would be in the bed and I literally could not pick myself. I just kind of laid there. It's like if you pick up my arm, it would just fall right back down. It was really bad. So I ended up going back, and they did a nerve conduction test where he just tested nerves from my elbows down. And they're like, yeah, your nerves are working fine. Nothing wrong with you. But he said, have you seen a psychiatrist? And I was like, what? And I said, I've had therapy when I was a kid, when in my adulthood. But he was like, yeah, maybe you should see a psychiatrist. And they prescribed me antidepressants or anxiety medication and seizure medication. Pretty much was like, have a good life. Let me know if you need me. And I was just, what? And at that point, that literally was my breaking point. And I had no idea what was wrong with me. I didn't know what else to do. And I'm literally in his office in tears. And I'm like, I am not crazy. I'm not making these things up, And I had got to the point where I was like, maybe I am crazy. Maybe this is all in my head. But what do I do with that? And so after a day or two, after I slowly was getting out of the funk, I was like, Shauna, you know what? Second opinion. We about to make sure we get this. So someone that I was working with, she told me about Michigan Head and Spine Institute. Michigan Institute of Neurological Disorders, the mind. That's what it is. And so I went there for my second opinion. Went in, told them about the symptoms I was having, the whole shebang. And he immediately said, I'm debunking that diagnosis that the other neurologist gave you, the BFS. He said, you don't have that. He said, you have way too much going on. He said, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to run this. I'm going to get another more intensive, I won't say intensive, but more, not invasive. What do you call it? Like, better MRI. I'll just say that because I can get a word. So he did the cervical and thoracic. And so those came back, and not was it just 1, 2, 3, but 4 vertebrae that was affected. Now, before a few years ago, it was just 1. So I had from C4 to C7 herniation. And so he referred me to a neurosurgeon or orthopedic surgeon. or is he a neurosurgeon? Yeah, orthopedic surgeon. So went there and he saw my MRI and he said, yeah, you're definitely gonna have to have surgery. So we talked about that and he asked me some questions because like all of the doctors from day one had told me like you're really young to have this going on in your spine. Like, were you in a bad accident? Da, da, da. So we talked about that. I'm like, no, nothing that would cause this. And so I'm like, why is this happening if I'm so young? So he looked and he said, yeah, you actually have congenital spinal stenosis. So it's something that was born with, where most people, they have a normal spinal column or spinal canal, where it's like, like a lot, like a nice bit of room for your spinal cord to go through, and then you have your vertebrae. Mine, I was born with it being very narrowed. And so everybody experienced disc herniation, but you may not have any symptoms. You may not know. You're perfectly like okay to do your daily activities because your spinal canal, you have enough room for movement of your vertebrae. But because I don't have room, any amount of movement, it's gonna press against that spinal cord. And so that's why I needed ACDF, which brings me here. ACDF surgery, which is anterior cervical discectomy infusion. So they had to go through here, my front of my neck, that's the anterior part. They had to move all of my like the esophagus, vocal cords, all that over to get to the front, the anterior part of my vertebrae. And it's C4 through C7, so it's 3 discs because you have your vertebrae, but in between you have discs. So it's 4 vertebrae, but it's 3 discs that was pressing against my spinal cord. So they will call that 3-level disc surgery or whatever, multi-level, 3 levels. And what they did was after they went in, they had to take out the nucleus, which is that spongy part that keeps everything lubricated and like your bones lubricated, everything squishy, so that you can, have bounce and shock. You know what I mean? All of that. So they had to take all of those out, 3 of them, and they put in metal replacements, like little rods, I guess. Had to put those in there, and then they put a metal plate in the front with screws to keep everything in order all together. And so and that's to keep it together for the fusion to take place, so that the bone will fuse to those metal plates. So yeah, that led me to this. So like I said, I'm now on day 10 post-op. The journey to this place have been quite a journey, but I'm thankful and I'm grateful to God for leading me to the right doctors and getting me to a place of answers and a solution. So the next video, because this one is already pretty long, will be about the recovery. So thank you for listening. Again, if you have any questions, yeah, just let me know. Send a message. If not, I hope this was informative. And if there's others that you know or for yourself that have any of these symptoms, maybe look into this, because I wasn't aware, and I wish I was aware a long time ago, so that it would not have went this far, because I was at the beginning stages of paralysis, and the reason why I needed to have this surgery as soon as possible, because there was already starting some permanent nerve damage. And I can talk a little bit more about that as well. And so at that point, once your nerves are permanently dead, there's no bringing them back. And so, have children, you have a family, you don't want to play with that. So, and the moral of this part of the story is you have to advocate for yourself, especially for African American people. We get overlooked a lot, and I've been right in the middle of that. I've experienced it, and it's the saddest thing. And I wish that people talked a little more about that. And I didn't realize how bad it was, because you put all your trust in these doctors, that they would have your best interests. One of their main oaths is to first do no harm. And I was harmed because I was written off so many times. I was not heard at all. And sometimes you have to really put yourself, like, you have to fight for your own life. Nobody else is going to do it. You have to. You have to speak up and say, no, I need this test ran. And that's what I did. I said, yeah, I need this blood work. Even though everything came back okay, it was like I was advocating for myself. And so, yeah, and don't give up in any situation, any health issue, until you find the answers, and trust your gut instinct. Like, we know our bodies better than anybody else, so something ain't right. And so, yeah, so that would be the end of that. And the next, we'll be talking about my surgery experience and my recovery.